Every known real-life glitch and why it happens. Déjà vu. Déjà vu is the strange feeling that you have already lived a moment that is happening right now. You walk into a place, hear a sentence, or see a scene, and suddenly feel certain you've experienced it before, even though you logically know you haven't. The word déjà vu is French and literally means already seen. Simple name, deeply unsettling feeling. The scientific explanation starts with memory timing. Your brain is constantly processing information and storing it as either short-term memory, what's happening now, or long-term memory, what already happened. Déjà vu occurs when the brain accidentally files the present moment as a memory. In other words, your brain tells itself, this already happened, even though it didn't. It's like saving a file before you finish writing it. One theory says this happens when information reaches one part of the brain a split second earlier than another. When the second part catches up, the brain compares the two signals and thinks, wait, I recognize this. The moment feels familiar not because it happened before, but because it was processed twice. Your brain basically trips over its own shoelaces. Another explanation involves pattern recognition. The brain is extremely good at spotting similarities. If a situation closely matches something you've experienced before, same layout, same sounds, same emotions, the brain may flag it as familiar, even if it's new. It's like thinking you've met someone before just because they look like three other people you know, combined into one confusing human smoothie. Déjà vu happens more often in younger people and during times of stress or fatigue, when the brain is working fast and not double-checking its work. Importantly, it is not a sign of seeing the future, reliving a past life, or reality looping, no matter how convincing it feels. It is a brief memory processing error, not a preview mode. So, déjà vu is best described as a mental hiccup. The brain mislabels the present, hits the familiar button by mistake, and then immediately moves on like nothing happened, while you're left questioning reality in the cereal aisle. The Mandela effect. The Mandela effect is when large groups of people remember the same thing the same wrong way. It is not just one person misremembering. It is millions of people confidently agreeing on a memory that turns out to be incorrect. The name comes from Nelson Mandela because many people clearly remember him dying in prison in the 1980s, even though he was released, became president of South Africa, and died in 2013. A common example is Pikachu. Many people remember Pikachu having a black tip on his tail. He never did. Another example is the Monopoly Man. People swear he wears a monocle. He doesn't. These are not tiny details people saw once. These are characters people have seen hundreds of times. That is what makes the Mandela effect so unsettling. The scientific explanation is that human memory is not a recording. Your brain does not store perfect copies of events. Instead, it rebuilds memories each time you recall them, like reopening and resaving a document. Small errors creep in. When many people share the same sources, TV, movies, conversations, internet posts, the same wrong detail can spread and become a shared false memory. Your brain also likes shortcuts. The Monopoly Man looks rich, and rich cartoon characters often wear monocles, so the brain fills one in automatically. Pikachu has black ears, so the brain assumes the tail matches. Your memory is not lying to you, it is guessing very confidently. Another reason the Mandela effect spreads is social reinforcement. When you hear other people confidently say they remember the same thing, your brain upgrades the memory from maybe to definitely. Once that happens, it feels real, very real. I know this happened. There is no evidence that timelines are merging. Reality is updating, or the universe is patching bugs, no matter how fun that idea is. The Mandela effect is best explained as shared memory errors, not shared reality errors. Your brain is powerful, but it is not perfect, and sometimes it confidently remembers something that never existed. So the Mandela effect is not proof that reality changed. It is proof that memory is creative, collaborative, and occasionally extremely wrong, while sounding absolutely sure about it. Missing time. Missing time is when a chunk of time disappears without your awareness. You check the clock, look away for what feels like a few minutes, and suddenly an hour is gone. You didn't fall asleep. You weren't distracted. You were just there. Then time jumped. This feels less like forgetting and more like reality quietly skipping ahead. The most common scientific explanation is attention shutdown. Your brain does not record memories continuously. It records only when something feels important or new. During repetitive or low stimulation activities, the brain switches to autopilot mode. When this happens, your body keeps working, but your memory system stops saving. Later, when you try to recall that period, there is nothing there, so it feels like time vanished. A classic example is highway hypnosis. Someone drives for miles, following traffic rules perfectly, then suddenly realizes they remember none of the drive. The brain was awake enough to function, but not alert enough to record memories. No memory saved means no playback later. Your brain basically hit skip cutscene. What makes missing time unsettling is that it doesn't always happen during boring tasks. Some people report missing time while watching TV, cleaning their house, or even mid conversation. They stop talking, freeze briefly, and resume without realizing anything happened, while the other person is wondering if the game just lagged. Stress, exhaustion, dissociation, and anxiety can all increase missing time events. When the brain is overloaded, it prioritizes survival and drops memory recording first. Memory is optional, breathing is not. The brain chooses wisely, even if it freaks you out later. Missing time is not evidence of abduction, time loops, or reality edits. It is a recording failure, not a time failure. The clock kept ticking. Your brain just forgot to press save, and now you're stuck staring at the timestamp wondering who approved this update. The bystander effect. The bystander effect happens when people are less likely to help in an emergency when other people are present. This sounds backwards. You would think more people means more help. In reality, the opposite often happens. When everyone is watching, nobody moves. It looks like a crowd, but it functions like a paused game lobby. The main reason is diffusion of responsibility. Each person assumes someone else will act. Your brain quietly says, that person closer will help, or someone more qualified is probably on it. When everyone thinks this way, responsibility gets divided into tiny pieces, and no one feels fully responsible enough to act. Another factor is social checking. In unclear situations, people look to others to decide how serious something is. If no one else looks alarmed, the brain assumes everything is fine. This leads to the bizarre situation where everyone is waiting for someone else to panic first before doing anything useful. Fear of embarrassment also plays a role. People worry about overreacting, doing the wrong thing, or looking foolish. The brain prefers social safety over action, even when action would help. From the brain's point of view, doing nothing feels safer than being wrong in public. The bystander effect has been observed in real emergencies, including accidents, assaults, and medical crises. It is not because people are bad or heartless. It is because the brain is designed to follow group behavior. Unfortunately, when the group freezes, everyone freezes together. So the bystander effect is not proof that people are NPCs, but it can look exactly like an NPC idle animation. The fix is simple but uncomfortable. When you need help, point at one person and give a direct command. That forces the brain out of waiting mode and back into player control. Doppelgangers. A doppelganger is a person who looks nearly identical to you, despite not being related. Seeing someone who looks like you can feel deeply unsettling, even if you know there is a logical explanation. Your brain is excellent at recognizing faces, which is exactly why this experience feels like a system error instead of a coincidence. The scientific explanation starts with face pattern limits. Human faces are made from a limited number of features arranged in similar ways. With billions of people on Earth, some faces are statistically bound to repeat. Your brain, however, does not think in statistics. It thinks in identity. So when it sees your own features on someone else, it reacts as if reality made a copy without asking. Another factor is facial familiarity bias. You are extremely familiar with your own face. When you see similar features, same eyes, nose, mouth, or expression, your brain overcorrects and labels the person as me. This causes a sharp emotional reaction before logic has time to step in. In rare cases, people report seeing their doppelganger during periods of stress, fatigue, or illness. These experiences can be linked to misfiring self-recognition circuits in the brain, especially in areas that separate self from other. When those signals blur, the brain can momentarily treat an external face as its own reflection. Historically, doppelgangers were considered bad omens, mostly because seeing yourself as an object breaks the brain's rules. The mind expects mirrors, not duplicates. When that expectation fails, the brain reacts with fear instead of curiosity. It's not superstition. It's your brain shouting, this should not be happening. So, doppelgangers are not clones, time travelers, or alternate versions of you. They are the result of pattern overload in a face recognition system that hates being confused and responds by hitting the panic button. Sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis happens when your mind wakes up but your body does not. You open your eyes, see your room clearly, and realize you cannot move, speak, or even breathe normally. This usually lasts only a few seconds, but it can feel much longer because panic is very good at stretching time. To understand why this happens, you need to understand REM sleep. REM stands for rapid eye movement, the stage of sleep where most dreams occur. During REM sleep, the brain intentionally shuts down most muscle movement. This is called muscle atonia, and it prevents you from acting out your dreams. Normally, the brain wakes up first and then releases the muscles. Sleep paralysis happens when that order gets reversed. When paralysis begins, the brain is awake and aware, but the body is still locked. Breathing feels difficult because chest muscles are relaxed, not because you are actually choking. This mismatch triggers fear, and fear causes the brain to search for danger, even when there is none. This is why many people experience a presence hallucination. The brain fills the room with a threatening figure because it assumes something must be wrong. Across cultures and history, people report remarkably similar shapes: dark figures, shadows, or something standing near the bed. Different cultures give it different names, but the experience is almost identical. The hallucination feels real because it is generated by the same brain systems used during dreams. You are partially dreaming while awake. Think of it as your brain forgetting to close the dream window before launching the desktop. Sleep paralysis is more common during stress, irregular sleep, or sleeping on your back. It is not dangerous, but it is deeply uncomfortable. The best way out is to focus on slow breathing and small movements, like wiggling a finger or toe, which helps reboot the muscle system. Sleep paralysis is not a supernatural encounter. It is a sleep system desynchronization where consciousness loads faster than the body. And then your fear fills in the rest of the scene. Spontaneous human combustion. Spontaneous human combustion is the idea that a person can catch fire without any obvious external cause. No candle, no stove, no lightning strike, just a human body that somehow ignites. In reported cases, the person is found mostly burned to ash, while nearby objects remain strangely untouched. It looks less like a fire and more like reality forgot how fire is supposed to work. The most accepted scientific explanation is called the wick effect. In this theory, a small external flame, like a cigarette or spark, ignites clothing. The body's fat then melts and acts like candle wax, slowly fueling the fire. The clothes act like the wick. This can burn for hours at relatively low temperatures, destroying much of the body without spreading flames around the room. It sounds ridiculous, but it matches many case details. What makes these cases unsettling is the uneven damage. Sometimes the upper body is almost completely destroyed, while feet, hands, or nearby furniture remain intact. This happens because fat distribution varies across the body and fires burn upward. Fire follows fuel, not fairness. Alcohol, immobility, and sleeping positions may increase risk because they make it harder for a person to react or escape once a fire starts. Importantly, there is no evidence that bodies ignite on their own from internal heat alone. Humans do not have a built-in self-destruct button, no matter how stressful life gets. Spontaneous human combustion looks like a glitch because it violates expectations, not physics. It is a rare and tragic interaction between fire behavior and human biology, not a system error, just an extremely unlucky alignment of conditions that makes reality look broken. Quantum immortality. Quantum immortality is the idea that from your own perspective, you never experience your own death. The theory comes from quantum physics, specifically the idea that reality can split into multiple possible outcomes. In one outcome, something kills you. In another, you survive. According to this idea, your consciousness only continues in the versions where you live. Imagine narrowly avoiding a car accident. You think, that was close. Quantum immortality suggests that in other versions of reality, you didn't make it, but you are only aware of the timeline where you walked away. From your point of view, you always survive. Reality quietly reloads the save file where you're still alive. The theory is based on the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics, which says all possible outcomes happen just in different branches of reality. Most scientists treat this as a mathematical model, not proof that consciousness jumps timelines. There is no evidence that the human mind can move between universes like a respawn mechanic. The reason this idea feels convincing is survivor bias. You only remember the times you survived because you can't remember the times you didn't. The brain fills the gap with meaning and turns luck into a pattern. Near misses stand out, while ordinary survival goes unnoticed. Quantum immortality is not proven, testable, or supported by neuroscience. It is a thought experiment, not a rule of reality. It feels like a glitch because it plays with perspective. not because the universe is secretly keeping you alive forever. Real life glitches feel unsettling because they expose how the brain, memory, and perception can misfire in very convincing ways. Most glitches aren't breaks in reality. They're moments where your mind shows its shortcuts, limits, and errors. If you enjoy clear explanations that turn creepy mysteries into understandable systems, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this.